All right, Gary. Gary, I have a question.
You may ask.
Are we in the Great Tribulation?
I'm going to say no.
That's what I think.
You may think with things going on in the world, but I'm going to say no.
There's a lot of we got a lot
Because
of go for it
go ahead, no, go.
because we got a lot of people who have theologians who have great influence on the radio and everything, and they really believe that we are in the tribulation period right now.
You know why we're not in the Great Tribulation right now?
Why?
Because you and I are sitting here and people are watching us.
That's right.
That's numero uno to why we're still here, and that means the rapture hasn't happened yet. And two, uh, Israel is not dwelling in peace.
That's true.
Okay, right now they're in a war. As of today, apparently Israel has gone into Rafah. We've been doing yard work today out in the sun and laying waste to. We've been causing tribulation to dead weeds, and uh, and then went out to eat. And so, um, yeah, the Great Tribulation hasn't started because there's not a world leader on the stage. Every world leader that is out there right now seems to be bumbling buffoons and brain dead individuals who can't eat ice cream out of a paper sack to save their lives.
Oh my
Did I say
gosh,
something about somebody there? Possibly.
that's
So,
true.
so let's see. So, yeah,
Lack of leadership.
there's a lack of leadership, which is on purpose to help the world that will be left behind clamor to the guy who's gonna be
Hmm.
the person who's gonna have all the answers.
We
And
are
the people yet
gonna.
in the Great Tribulation. So,
Yeah, we're
all right.
not.
Next question. So just to take a step, last not this past Sunday, but the weekend before, Terry and I were hanging out, and there was a police chase going on,
Hmm.
and uh, I turned my back because I was going to get around the corner of the fence to be able to take a picture of the chase that was going on, and the I missed the white SUV that was being pursued by sheriff's vehicles.
Yeah.
And within 15-30 seconds, the woo, woo, woo suddenly went quiet. And I think, you know what? There had to have been a TC, a traffic collision, a crash, something.
Hmm.
And then within another 30 seconds, we start hearing a ton of sirens and like more law enforcement vehicles, ambulance, fire trucks. And sure enough, within 5 minutes, here comes the fire truck. Here comes the hook and ladder. Here comes the ambulance. Here
Yeah.
comes several motor officers and other sheriff vehicles responding to what was a crash. So we left church and went up around the backside, and the sheriff was already blocking the little 2-lane street down the middle of the community over there, and we could see this white SUV, just the front end just mashed in.
Hmm.
And so we worked our way back around a block and came up and got out and walked up past a combination gas station liquor store. And the fire trucks were blocking off the 2-lane street. And we get to where we could see there's two fire trucks. The ambulance had turned around facing the other way. There's two motor officers. And then we see a crunched up big beach cruiser on its side, and about another 40, 50 feet up from the beach cruiser was a body already underneath the tarp. And what stood out for me was just seeing the bare foot of the person that had been
Hmm.
on the bike. We have a food ministry at the church that we go to. A lot of these people come homeless people live in a riverbed behind buildings. They come to get free food every Sunday and get fed.
Yeah.
And the person was dead. They got hit by the fleeing car and killed.
Yeah.
And it just started, the Bible kind of says, sufficient is the evil for today. You plan for, next week we're going to do this, tomorrow we're going to do that. We don't know what a day will bring.
Hmm.
And that person, when they woke up that morning, wherever they were going, They're on their bike, going down the street, and here is another person or persons, because we're never really sure how many people were in this white little SUV. Um, they hit the bike. Either someone zigged when someone zagged, and unfortunately, a person got killed.
Mm-hmm.
And why were the people fleeing? I don't know. Now they've got time to think about it because they murdered a person trying to escape from the cops
Mm.
doing something else. And it just that how fast a day can bring. Blink. This guy's now in eternity.
Yeah.
Getting off the thing is that where are you at with Jesus? Because that's how fast it can happen. You could quit watching us today, hop in your car, go somewhere and get T-boned. You could have a heart attack. You could find out news of somebody. Be ready. Be
Yeah.
ready. Get right with Jesus, and hopefully we're helping encourage you to do that. So I just wanted to share that a little bit before we got going. Something I wanted to do
Well,
from
that's
when
the
this
that's the
happened.
ma- that's the main motivator. That's why we're doing what we're doing here on social media, right?
Yes.
To give the truth out, because we're living in those days that you need to know Jesus, and Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life,
The truth of
and
life,
no
he
one
said.
could go to the Father except through Him. All right,
Through
Gary.
him. So when we last were with you, we were going through Matthew 24, and the previous question had been, are we living in the last days? And we went through Matthew 24, and we got up to about this point where it says Matthew 24:22. And Jesus says, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for
Mm.
the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Well, you think time flies for us today. And the older you get, the faster time seems to go.
Yeah.
When did you graduate from high school? Did you have a 10-year reunion, or 20 or 30 or even
Mm.
40-year reunion? A lot of people I went to school with, the parents that are still alive are now in their 80s and into 90s, and still some still kicking pretty good, and others are in poor health.
Mm.
So, but it's like, where's time gone?
Yeah.
And the Bible elsewhere says life is but a vapor. It's gone. You ever lit a match? Light a candle and blow it out, and then there's that little, and there it
Mm.
goes. So I feel that this is more of that time of the tribulation, because the previous verses were talking about uh, the Jews there, and if time is, there's going to be some sort of nuclear exchange in that time frame, because in Ezekiel 34, 5, 6, it talks about the dry bones vision of Ezekiel.
Mm.
And you get into 37, 38, and apparently there's a nuclear war of some sort, because the people that get hired after the battle, they spend like 7 months doing contamination
Yeah.
cleanup and burying the bones and stuff they found that's downwind of the Dead Sea.
Mm.
So there, and then it says Israel will burn the weapons of our enemies for 7 years. Well, what burns for 7 years? Nuclear, atomic?
Mm.
It's saying, stuff to talk
Radioactive.
about, radioactive. So Matthew 24:23 says, and if any man shall say to you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it or not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect.
Mm.
And there's a religion out there today that claimed that Jesus came back, or was going to come back in 1875, then 18 something or other. And then he came back in 1914, but he's hiding someplace. Where's he hiding? If he came
Mm.
back, why is he not doing his thing?
Yeah, that's true.
So that was false prophets, but they're still kicking around, coming to your doors or standing on street corners with their publications. Um, you have other groups saying they have another gospel,
Mm-hmm.
but if that other gospel was true, in the great civilizations that were here in the Americas, you think of the money they have, they'd be making archaeological discoveries to prove that which is so. But guess what? They
Nothing.
haven't found it. But every day in Israel, they're finding stuff that proves the Bible every day.
That's true.
So, what's this? What's a lying sign and wonder? Okay, we talked about in the last show. There's a young guy who's some sort of rabbi in Israel, and supposedly he's healing people and raising the dead, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's a great sign. Someone raised from the dead. Yeah, that's crazy stuff. But the coming world leader knows the Antichrist, the false prophets, supposedly they're going to have lying signs and wonders. So Jesus says, behold, verse 24, chapter 24, verse 25, behold, I have told you before. He's giving you a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore, if they shall say to you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he's in the secret chambers, believe it or not. So like this one group said he came back in 1914. Oh, he's hiding in the secret chamber.
Nothing secretive.
So there's a guy that I've listened to a long time. He talks about this next verse, Matthew 24:27. For as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even to the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Okay, so is that the rapture? You know, because at the moment of twinkling an eye, it's going to be like lightning that, you know, boom, 1 minute we're standing here and the next second we're gone. You've got some interesting theories on it. And, you know, is it something that happens right before the second coming, which is where we return with Jesus?
Yeah.
Because it says in the book of Jude, he will come back with 10,000s of his saints. We'll be behind him. He's going to do all the work. We'll be on white horses riding back. So to me, it's just, it's exciting to think that you're living in the times of sign. So here's an interesting verse. Matthew 24:28 says, for wherever the carcass is, there will be the eagles will be gathered together.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the battle known as the Battle of Armageddon, and it actually, the staging area is Megiddo, which is about 2 hours north of Jerusalem. There is Tel or Har Megiddo, which is just south of where Nazareth is up in the hill. It's west of the Sea of Galilee, is this place called Megiddo. And Napoleon went through there in the early 1800s. And at that time, because, you know, a lot of manpower, he said all the armies of the world could march through this place in review and not bump into each other. And it comes to the farther west of this place is Haifa on the coast of the Mediterranean. And you have this large fruited plain. A lot of crops and stuff is grown that way, going all the way to where you drop down to the Sea of Galilee. And that's like the staging area, because then the battle, which is going to be in Revelation, there's a verse that says that blood will rise up to the horse's bridle. Well, I think we may have talked about that before, but
that's a lot of blood.
That's a lot of blood. Well, the kings of the east are bringing a 200 million man army. So how many other millions of guys are going to be in Israel fighting? And now they get hit with nukes, tactical nukes, suitcase nukes, whatever.
Yeah.
Radiation doesn't, your blood doesn't clot when you've been overly irritated. And it's like, you know, putting, you know, if you got a cup and you've got, you know, ice in it, you know, the more ice cubes you have, the less liquid you get because of displacement.
Yeah.
So you got this area there of all these dead bodies and tanks and trucks and Jeeps and Hummers and crashed airplanes and that. These people, the blood very well could, and it's like for a 200-mile stretch that you're going to have the blood up that high. And then when Jesus comes back, it says that his garments, when he comes back from Basra, his garments are stained in blood of his enemies, or he rescues the Jewish people. So Matthew 24:29 says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Well, man has never ever used a weapon system he hasn't devised. And you figure all the money man spends on bigger and badder toys to kill each other, the money that could be spent on homelessness or raising funny food,
doing good things,
you know, good things, you know, because Satan hates us. He wants us to kill each other.
Yep.
But apparently something's going to happen where the sun will be darkened, the moon shall not give her life, but an ancient guy is seeing stars fall from heaven. Okay, Jesus is saying the stars will fall from heaven. Are they meteors coming in? Are they nuclear payloads dropping down? Any of you that have lived in the United States here the last couple of years, Elon Musk has been launching satellite after satellite. And if you're in certain parts of the country, you can see the International Space Station going through. It's a string of lights going across the heavens at night, and people get geeked out by that. But
I think I've seen it.
and we've been able to see where we live
Yeah.
a couple of times, and so. But there's some bad stuff going to be happening in that future time during the tribulation. And then it says the powers of the heavens, plural, shall be shaken.
Hmm.
So crazy stuff. And then verse 30 says, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.